Hey everyone, as you might know, Warner Bros. Recently had the perfect plan. Start with Super Smash Bros., make it free to play, add LeBron James, add a battle pass, and print $500 billion trillion. That's why they created Multiverses, a game where you can beat up the Joker as Bugs Bunny. Nothing could possibly go wrong, is what I thought before everything went horribly wrong and now I'm sad. I mean, this game is weird, glitchy, greedy. It unreleased itself for a year to come back with less features and more microtransactions. Meanwhile, Warner Bros. Itself did this, which I'm not a business expert, but I don't think this is good. But stop right there, because it turns out that Super Batman Bros. Is actually pretty fun. Yeah, I've been playing it a lot, and by some miracle, I am having a great time getting punched in the face by Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Now, does this game suck? Yes, like that thumbnail is not a cliffhanger or an open question. The game sucks. It is not good, and you'll see why shortly. But for all its flaws, the gameplay here has this one huge spark of creative genius that puts this game in the truly magical position of being terrible, frustrating, greedy, straight up evil, and a whole lot of fun at the same time. Which means that LeBron Smash Bros. Just might be worth trying out if you're a fan of LeBron or Smash Bros. And honestly, with just a few key changes to make it less clunky and less malicious and possibly illegal, which we'll get into, I think this game could become something truly great and long-lasting. So today, let's talk about Super Superman Warner Bros. Ultimate, a disgusting, horrifying mess of a game that I hate and also can't stop playing. First off, the good. And of course, the number one thing that matters for a crossover game with all these crazy characters is, did they actually get those characters right? After all, just because they advertised they got Bugs Bunny doesn't mean they got the real Bugs Bunny. Personally, I learned this lesson at a very young age when I popped open one of those Bugs Bunny themed ice cream bars, only to instead find some kind of sick, freakish homunculus crafted in his image. But Multiverses thankfully does a pretty good job here. I am happy to say that Bugs Bunny looks and sounds like Bugs Bunny. Same for Superman, Rain Dog, Harley Quinn, Rain Dog. These are all mostly the characters fans love, mostly, and they are not, in fact, demons with lifeless gumball eyes meant to haunt the dreams of children. Now, they will haunt the dreams of competitive players, but you know, that's gameplay, that's different. So while I will be saying some not so nice things about this game today, I can't stress enough that they nailed the most important part. It could have been worse, is basically today's mantra, but these characters are great. They got personality, references, and some really fun voice acting, which is probably the best yet in this entire Smash-like platform fighter genre. Everyone is here, and everyone is shit-talking each other by name all the time, which is awesome.
Now, I never drink on the job, but then again, I'm a professional.
An obvious highlight here is, of course, hearing Mark Hamill's iconic Joker. It's great as always, and I think the devs agree because they gave him a separate font in the credits and everything. Personally, I would have given more people the cool font, but I get it, it's Mark Hamill. I'm not the cool font police. And also, wow, this is a crazy cast of voice actors to have for one video game. Including the late Kevin Conroy, the legendary voice of Batman in one of his last roles ever. And good voice acting matters. It adds so much to the experience.
The audience knows him as well as I do. They would know in a second if I did something inauthentic.
I think, more than anything else, Multiverses just sounds like a faithful crossover. And that makes it incredibly appealing to fans in a way that I'm sure Warner Bros. Executives will not fumble catastrophically in a tragic whirlwind of greed and hubris. But yeah, ominous foreshadowing aside, great voices.
I'd tell you to stick to mysteries, but you're bad at that too.
Quick tip though, make sure you go into the settings and turn on mature language.
Oh shit!
It's off by default to be kid-friendly, because as we all know, if a kid hears the word shit, they will die instantly. Truthfully, I am so glad that children will be protected from the word shit in this game while they stab people with a knife as serial killer Jason Voorhees. By the way, speaking of stabbing people with a knife, it sounds really good. I mean, like, it has good sound design in this game. I think a very underrated part of non-LeBron Smash Bros. Is how basically every single attack has a sound effect with the perfect amount of impact and weight. And this game, Super Smash Bros. James, is possibly the first big platform fighter to really put in the effort and budget to match that. Part of why I ended up playing Wonder Woman is because hitting people with that shield is so damn satisfying. Just listen to this. Now, of course, the main reason why I play Wonder Woman is because she's an extremely overpowered and easy top tier who everyone hates, but usually that's my only reason for picking a character, so you gotta respect the sound effects for helping out like 3% of the way. Well, sounds are great here, and this game's music is great too, but it's also weirdly relaxing with this big, slow orchestra, and like, this is a fighting game. I don't want to be relaxed. I want to fight. I want to lose my mind. You got Marvin the Martian shooting lasers at Superman and Jake the dog. That is insane. I should be freaking out. But instead, this music makes me feel like I'm at a Bugs Bunny themed funeral. Bugs Bunny is dead. Elmer Fudd got him. I will say though, every so often Multiverses does get the intense vibe exactly right, like with its epic orchestral Rick and Morty theme of all things, which, I mean, damn, alright, you got it. And yes, when that happens, for a brief moment, you do get the feeling you are witnessing the crazy, massive, epic crossover event that all this is supposed to be. And you see the genius of Bugs Bunny vs. Batman game. At least until it takes all your money, we'll get to that. But you know what else is genius? The art style. Seriously, if you think about it, there was a pretty big challenge to solve here, even compared to most other crossover games. That being, what the hell do you even do about art style when you gotta bring this, and this to the same game? That is hard, and I do think they decided on a great compromise. All of the stages and environments look like hand-painted animation backgrounds, while the characters are a bit sharper, leaving room to vary in detail depending on their source material. Yes, some characters might not look exactly like their 2D or especially live-action counterparts, but I think it's pretty impressive how much it actually works and preserves these fighters' identities. And in terms of their actual moves and animations, it's the same way. Superman is doing Superman stuff, Tom and Jerry are doing cartoon stuff, Jake is stretching, Jason is murdering, the Iron Giant is also murdering, which, as you know if you watched his movie, that's very in character. He loves bloodshed, he loves violence. I mean, who could forget that iconic scene where he turns toward the camera and goes, "I want to beat the shit out of that small animal from Gremlins." Also, for some reason, they based Shaggy's entire personality and moveset off of an over 5-year-old meme about him going Ultra Instinct like Goku, which, you know, it sort of feels like the game version of your coworker showing you ancient, heavily compressed memes from Facebook. Like, you won't laugh, but you might sort of appreciate that in his head, he thought it was something you would enjoy. Now, I will say, you should maybe be a little bit worried, because in the description of this video, I have linked a certain document on the European Union Intellectual Property Office website, where in 2022, Warner Bros. Filed for a trademark. Filing number 0187534040, name Big Chungus. Yes, this trademark was approved for Warner Bros. Last year, including for use in video games. And all I'm gonna say is that I'm afraid. I am deeply afraid of what might happen in the future. Anyway, nitpicks aside, there is clearly a lot of passion put into the fighters of Multiverses, in terms of references, presentation, and also just what they can do. One place I really have to hand it to these devs is that they were not afraid to give characters crazy, unique abilities that feel very strong. Making portals, turning invisible, stealing moves, coming back from the dead. There is some wacky stuff here. And if you look closely, you'll even see various horrifyingly broken attacks from other fighting games, which have seemingly transcended time and space to traumatize a whole new audience of players. And while trying to fight against this stuff is absolute hell, I gotta say, I do love that they didn't play it safe here. There's a lot of creativity in these moves, and the art and the sounds really do make them come to life. Though sadly, for some reason, the game draws these really distracting color filters over your allies and enemies, and all their attacks, and equally annoying are the obnoxiously thick outlines around every character by default, but thankfully, you can turn those off at least. Savor it though, because that is just about the last time a single setting in this game will actually do anything useful. And while we're on the topic of things that make me irrationally angry, check out this generic live service game UI. Now, objectively speaking, there's nothing wrong with these menus. My controller works, I can find things and get into games quickly, and maybe that's all I can really ask for, because fighting game menus have hurt me a lot in the past. But I can't help but feel like there was a massive missed opportunity here, because this is Warner Bros, And all this game's menus combined have less personality than the font of the 2 letters in the Warner Bros logo. I mean, just off the top of my head, we've seen cartoon menus, comic book menus, film-inspired Art Deco menus, and you're telling me that the best the Warner Bros game could do is legally distinct Fortnite menu? I don't think so. But hey, at least it works, and as we've seen, these menus are a gateway to some awesome art and creative ideas. All the right ingredients are here to make a great game with lasting appeal. However, you gotta be careful, because even with the best ingredients, if you want to make a meal, you better put them together in the right way. And if Smash Bros is like a pizza, Multiversus is like a pizza made in a how-to basic video using a blowtorch, and also every egg still has the shell on. So let's talk about the gameplay. And of course, as is tradition, this review will now be switching to iceberg format, where we start with things I have mixed feelings about, and then just sorta continue downwards to a very dark place where happiness cannot exist. So yeah, the glue that holds any fighting game together is obviously the fighting, the actual gameplay. And right out of the gate, people were very concerned about how this game would play, especially after the developers of Super Bugs Bunny Bros went radio silent for an entire year after announcing they were unreleasing it completely in 2023, only to finally come back with footage of a game that looked slow and zoomed in compared to its own beta, let alone other platform fighters. And keep in mind, that beta had seasons and was taking microtransactions. It didn't seem like the kind of thing you just unrelease in the first place. Fans were already a bit frustrated, so Multiversus really needed to come back strong with some impressive new gameplay. But instead, it felt like everyone was just worried, including me. But of course, in my experience, you can never really judge a book by its cover in terms of gameplay. Instead, you should actually get into the game, give yourself some time to learn how it works, and try to examine that gameplay in context as objectively as possible. So, while some of the stuff Twitter was saying about it was very funny, I, in my deep gamer wisdom, decided to sit down and learn all the mechanics as well as I could. And sure enough, after all that, I honestly realized that I wasted my time. Twitter was completely right, and they should make fun of this gameplay more. Yeah, sorry if you were expecting a revelation here, but, well, Multiversus gameplay looks very slow and weird, because it is very slow and weird. Sure, you can't always judge a book by its cover, but I mean, basic microwaving. What do you think that's about, huh? Politics? Romance? No, it's probably about basic microwaving. Some covers you can judge. I will say though, I think the bones are there for an interesting system here. Like dodges run on this dodge meter, where if you use them too much, you enter knockoff Street Fighter Burnout and don't have any invincibility for a while. And you can use that meter for offense too, canceling attacks into dodges, or even canceling dodges into attacks to turn them into mini air dashes or drive rushes where you go flying forward. On paper, it's a very cool system that takes a lot of inspiration from many different platform fighters. Spam rolls too much and they get slower, like in Smash Bros. Parry things well, and you won't mind the lack of shield, like in Rivals of Aether. And the meter management stuff might remind you of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, aka Garfield Smash Bros, because that game also lets you spend meter on air dashes and cancels. There's even a perk that enables gravity cancels, which are a mechanic in Brawlhalla that lets you use grounded moves in the air. And yes, I did say perk, because we got the perk system from Call of Duty here, as in, it is literally exactly how perks work in Call of Duty. And now I'm sad, because when I say it like that, and I look at all this stuff on paper, I wonder how the hell it gets so boring the moment it leaves the paper. Like, Smash Bros. With air dashing and Call of Duty perks sounds so much better than this game is, because there's so much weirdness that holds it back. So I'll start by saying that characters have very few moves compared to Smash. And it's funny, because this comes at a time where platform fighter characters are getting more complex. Garfield Smash Bros. Gave every character a whole set of aerial charge attacks and powered up versions of their specials. Rivals of Aether 2 is adding all these new types of special move on top of the normal Smash formula. And even Smash itself has been getting kind of wild, experimenting with characters who just have more moves and mechanics. But in Multiversus, not counting special moves, you have 5 grounded attacks. 5 things you can do. Jab, dash attack, smashes, and nothing else. No grabs, no throws, no tilt attacks, no angled variants, no tethers, no get up or ledge attacks, and you can't even walk or shield, which simplifies things even more. Oh, and also, there's no back air in this game. You just got 4 total A moves in the air, which brings you up to 9 total normal attacks, which is the same number of moves you have turn 1 of Tic-Tac-Toe. Now, you do have at least 4 special moves. Many characters do have more in the air, and that's where those crazy mechanics I mentioned do come in and make things a bit less boring. But like, even if you can turn invisible or whatever, this is your entire move list. That's it. That's everything. And the best way I can describe how this feels to me is, if you think of Smash Bros. As an acoustic guitar, then Smash-inspired games are like electric guitars, trying to build off that classic formula to create something crazy and new. Yeah, in that guitar analogy, to me, Multiversus is sort of like 3 rubber bands which have been stapled to a Bugs Bunny-shaped piece of plywood. It's a unique new instrument that's maybe a little bit simpler than I would personally prefer, and it's not like it can't make cool music ever, it's just that at a basic level, you have less tools to work with. Fighters in Multiversus are so minimal, and because of that, you're often forced to use the same couple of attacks over and over again, occasionally sprinkling in your character's unique, wacky, broken gimmick move whenever the cooldown ends. Well, this game is deeply unhealthy, incredibly simple, and it's probably shaving years off my lifespan. But to be fair, that also describes homemade french fries, and I gotta say, you can pry my 1200 watt easy clean stainless steel deep fryer from my cold, dead hands. So don't get me wrong, whacking people around with a simple moveset, it's kind of fun sometimes, like a quick hit of platform fighter junk food. But I just don't think it's the kind of fun that can last a long time. Cause like, how many meals in a row can you eat only french fries before you start to go insane, right? And with Multiversus, after you put the square shape in the square hole for the 500th time, you just kind of wish you had more stuff to do, more ways to solve problems. As an example, again, this game just has no shielding. It is a fighting game with no blocking. Of course, that's not inherently terrible in a Smash-like game. Brawlhalla is a big free-to-play success that only has dodging, and Rivals of Aether did great with a purely dodge and parry-based approach. But here's the thing, in both of those games, movement is way better, with a lot of speed and verticality you can use to avoid attacks. Meanwhile, Multiversus has way slower movement, and it's full of these gigantic, fast, rewarding moves, presumably because Smash is too. But you gotta be careful here. Those moves are only allowed to exist in Smash because shielding is there to counter them. See, in the language of Smash-like games, the shield button is like saying, I'm going to limit my own options and hide in this bubble because I think you're about to do something crazy in the next couple moments. I'm not sure the exact timing, but I think you're gonna do something crazy, and shield lets me handle that situation. So when you remove shielding from the picture, you have to be extremely careful about the kinds of moves you add into your game, because something as simple and natural to fighting games as quick move that sends you forward fast, that could now break your entire game in half. Since you've just created rock, paper, scissors without the paper. It's just scissors and rock. Now maybe if someone is just different, they can make scissors beat rock, but most people can't exactly do that, right? So as a player here, why would you not just pick rock all the time? And in Bugs Bunny game, that's what I do. I pick rock all the time, and I win, unless my opponent also picks rock all the time. In which case, you ever seen two mud skippers fight before? Yeah, that is exactly what this game feels like in 1v1s. You even make the same facial expressions. Oh, and also, we absolutely have to talk about, actually, I'm just gonna play some footage from one of my games. So, pop quiz. See if you can spot what I think is bad game design. Yeah, so if you look closely, you may notice that I can stay off the stage forever while spamming gigantic moves. This is bad. I was gonna have a whole analysis, but I cut it out, because, this is bad. But I gotta say, for all my complaints here, there is actually one seriously genius design decision that Batman game makes that I think saves this boring combat system like Bob Ross turning an ugly splotch into a beautiful gameplay forest. and that decision is focusing on doubles. Yes, LeBron Smash Bros. Is the first major platform fighter to completely design around 2v2 team play, and go all in on what I think is one of the coolest and most underexplored parts of this genre as a whole. Finn can buy speed boots that make his whole team fast. Bugs Bunny can dig 2 holes in the ground that his team can warp between, or Wonder Woman can fly to her teammate, put her shield up, and turn the game into Overwatch. Actually, all those mechanics are in Overwatch. Okay, yeah, the more I think about it, this is kinda just Smash Bros. But Overwatch. I don't care, still genius. Cause to this game's credit, there's a lot of stuff here that really does encourage the kind of ability coordination and cooldown management you'd expect from a hero shooter or a MOBA. It's a pretty surreal feeling to get from a fighting game of all places, and it's pretty darn addictive if you find a teammate to plan broken synergies with. I mean, I have competed in a lot of 2v2 tournaments in Smash Bros. I love Smash doubles, but at its best, Multiversus really is a whole different thing with its own identity, and the chaos of 4 players makes this game's very slow engine feel a whole lot faster. Now I will say, it does also make the game even more mashy, because there is the one glaring flaw here of no friendly fire, or team attack, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, being able to spam attacks and not hit your teammate is something that can work fine in an FPS game like Overwatch, because the total 3D play area, the size of the map, is way bigger than any one character. And because of that, you have to pick and choose areas and angles that are worth controlling, which is a huge part of the fun and strategy of any team-based game. But when friendly fire is off, in a game with a tiny 2D play area the size of a single screen, where attacks cover a huge chunk of the entire map, succeeding with your teammate isn't so much about careful strategy anymore, so much as it's about becoming an Elden Ring duo boss fight, which is maybe not very interesting competitively, but don't get me wrong, it is fun. It is very fun to get into these ridiculous cartoon brawls where you're just slugging it out non-stop. And in fact, 2v2 battles go a long way to explain why 1v1s kinda suck in this game. That's just not the main mode. 1v1s are a side mode, and the game straight up tells you that. And yes, I was very impressed by the creativity and thought that went into each of these characters in a team environment. So that's something I want you to keep in mind as we move down this iceberg and start to look at some truly horrendous things that hold this game back. There are a lot of huge problems with Super Batman Bros. That I think make it truly suck right now, and the score I give it will not be pretty. But beyond all the horrible BS we are about to witness, I have seen a core experience that makes this game worth caring about enough to complain about, especially because some of these problems can be fixed. Deep down, there is an awesome idea here, but oh man, it is very, very deep down, past some terrible mistakes, such as the buffer. As you might know, modern fighting games have input buffers, which let you press a button even if your character is already doing something. So instead of ignoring the player and erasing that button press, the game will simply make it happen once the animation finishes. When it's done well, this can make everyone feel more in control of their characters without causing any problems. When it's done well. And the Multiversus input buffer is not exactly a shining example of input buffer triumph. In fact, it lasts longer after letting go of a button than the past 3 Smash games combined, which means that your character will do attacks because of buttons you pressed half a second ago. And it's funny, because this is an issue that many people maybe don't know the exact terminology for, but it absolutely still affects them. Like, if you suddenly decided to stop taking showers, those around you might not know what 3-methyl-3-sulfanyl-hexane-1-ol is, but they will smell it, and they'll tell you to take a damn shower. And just like that, a casual player who pops into Multiversus because it's free and they like Bugs Bunny might not use the exact phrase 30 frame input buffer, but they will use the phrase, "Why the hell does my character keep doing things I don't want them to? This game feels terrible." In fact, it's so bad that I think a lot of the problems people are having right now with lag or online play are actually symptoms of this game having a buffer length that is beyond human comprehension. An actual good input buffer is supposed to be like taking a staircase and installing a ramp next to it so it's more accessible for everyone. But the Multiversus input buffer is like turning the entire staircase into an 80-degree ramp that nobody can actually climb. But hey, everyone does have different preferences, and luckily, ever since the Multiversus beta, you can simply turn the input buffer off. Unless, of course, it was during the entire month after release where you couldn't, because they had completely removed that option from the game and locked it on the worst possible setting for all skill levels, which might sound pretty bad. But don't worry, they also removed a bunch of other options and a ton of content, and also they gutted the training mode. Which brings us to my next point. They removed a bunch of options and a ton of content, and also they gutted the training mode. Yeah, so this one, kind of self-explanatory, but there's this big thread all link that lists a lot, and I mean a lot of things that got removed from the beta of this game. From the setting to make your jab inputs more like Smash, to game modes like co-op versus AI, to the character leaderboards, to getting Battle Pass EXP after matches. These features and more were all completely gone when everyone booted up the new and improved Multiversus. Oh, and they also removed the ability to try characters in training mode before you buy them. On release, you could simply not try before you buy anymore. They shamelessly took it out, which is a decision I cannot share my full thoughts on without getting this video demonetized. Thankfully, they did change it after fans went ballistic, but there's a lot to unpack with the business side of things here, so we'll do that in a very special section later in this video. But hey, at least Multiversus does seem to be starting to fix some of these issues. As of recording this, you do get a tiny bit of EXP after matches, and after 5 straight weeks of suffering, they did finally let us turn off the weird color filters and 30-frame input buffer. But first off, the default settings are still absolutely terrible and will turn new players away, and more importantly, you gotta wonder, if this game left beta after disappearing for a year, why are we waiting so long for features that we already had back then? Well, we actually have the answer to that question. It's because they switched to a different engine after the beta, a different game engine. Now, some of you might be thinking, wow, cool, but isn't that, like, hard to do? Yeah. To quote the game director of Multiversus, Tony Huynh, many of these features are currently implemented and are in testing and we had planned, but were left out due to time, as we had to rebuild every screen and feature again to support our new netcode and Unreal Engine 5 switch. So when I saw that, I really wasn't sure what to make of it. On one hand, it does give me some confidence that we will see a lot of these features actually come to the game. And it also gives me a lot more sympathy for the developers who had to accomplish this massive task. But also, I mean, why? Why sabotage yourself so close to release? I mean, you gotta know that players don't care if the lighting looks 3% better while they're suddenly missing tons of important features they already had. So why would you do this?
We moved to Unreal Engine 5, which will improve the game's visuals and character lighting. So in other words, Shaggy sandwiches have never looked better.
Pastrami on rye!
Yeah, so a couple things to say here. First off, are you absolutely sure that's pastrami on rye? Listen, as a Scooby-Doo fan, I can tolerate Shaggy going Super Saiyan like Goku, but I draw the line at Shaggy misidentifying a sandwich. But, sandwich aside, I get it. I don't know what went on behind the scenes here to cause this massive engine switch and feature downgrade. After all, when a relatively small developer like Player First Games works with a publisher like Warner Bros., their job is not exactly easy, and there's definitely a whole lot that the devs here simply don't have control over. So I do truly believe they intend to complete this game and improve it significantly over time. But I can't review games based on how they are hopefully going to be in the future, right? And the truth is that the first couple weeks of a game's lifespan are absolutely critical. If the game makes a bad first impression and doesn't fix it immediately, many players will never give it a second chance. And now, for no reason in particular, we're going to be talking about the training mode. Because all the functionality of training mode has been destroyed, and now it's basically useless. There's no combo counter, no way to set damage. It claims you can make the training dummy try to escape combos, but it literally doesn't work half the time, You can reset training mode, at least, and change characters mid-game, but that's it. In fact, the only modern platform fighter training mode that I would consider worse would be the incredibly bare-bones one in the released version of Garfield Smash Bros., which I talked about in that review. But guess what? They actually ended up fixing a lot of those problems through patches, adding features to the training mode over time. Which is cool, because that's typically what game updates are supposed to do, right? Add features, not take them away. And also last year, Rivals of Aether got an update that added input recording and playback to its training mode, which is a first for platform fighters, and honestly gets me very excited for the sequel. Which means that yes, Multiversus straight up dug itself into the hole of worst training mode by shooting itself in the foot for no reason while the genre as a whole took a step forward. Now, like I said before, I'm no business expert, not exactly an economy wizard, but to me, sabotaging your product while similar products improve doesn't exactly seem like the best strategy. Again though, not a business expert. Anyway, to me personally, all this stuff is annoying, but it's actually secondary to the one thing I really hoped they would improve from the beta, and they just didn't. And that's, even though the game looks great, the game looks terrible. So I had to think a lot about this one, because as I said, for the most part, I enjoy the animations of Multiversus, and I really love the visuals. Clearly, the artists and animators did great work here. And yet, something just seemed off, and when I asked around, everyone shared the same gut feeling that this game just looks incredibly whack in motion compared to other modern fighting games. What is causing that? Well, I reviewed my footage, compared it to Smash and other platform fighters, and I'm pretty sure I see what's going on here now. It's a weird, hard to pin down problem that pops up at what I would call the border between animation and gameplay. First off, at a super basic level, we can all agree that our brains like it when things on screen move in ways that make sense, right? In real life, if you fall off a cliff, you will not start to fly in circles or descend in slow motion. No, you will fall off the cliff. And if things don't work that way, like on a screen where the laws of physics don't apply, our attention as viewers is drawn to that difference in reality. And sometimes that's a good thing. Break physics just a little bit and it's fun. But if you do it too much and there's no logic behind it, things can quickly get very, very confusing. Well, you might be able to see where I'm going with this. The art of animation is all about exaggerating the motions of real life without breaking the illusion of physics. And as you might know, in 1981, two Disney animators published a book called The Illusion of Life, which outlined the famous 12 principles of animation that are very helpful for making things move on screen in ways that feel real and satisfying. Nowadays, these principles are used in everything from 3D animation to UI design to YouTube videos, like I'm using them right now, and you can't stop me. Now, of course, we're not going to get into every single principle of animation here, and rules about art are always meant to be broken. But still, if you animate something that breaks a lot of these principles at once, there's a pretty good chance the end result will just feel wrong and artificial to people. And the reason I'm talking about all this is because Multiversus breaks those principles in a very weird way I don't really see that often. Check out this attack from LeBron. Notice how he bends down and looks upwards before the motion to visually tell us he's preparing to do something above him. This principle is known as anticipation. Before any big, sudden motion, your character should clearly prepare for it, so your viewers know what the hell is going on. And from this one frame alone, it's easy to guess the logic of what's about to happen. Legs push down, LeBron goes up, physics works, brain is happy. Well, I could go on all day about these principles here. Like squash and stretch, check out how LeBron's overall profile gets shorter and wider at first, then he stretches out like a spring to convey speed before returning to his original stance. Or slow in, slow out, where the animation is faster during the middle of the motion. Together, all these ideas create the illusion of a character that moves believably despite just being pixels on a screen. It looks great, in a vacuum. But it turns out, when you take this animation into the actual gameplay of Bugs Bunny game, things get kind of strange. Check out this attack. Looks fine, right? But now let's try using it while moving, and hold on, what the hell am I witnessing? So to me, it feels like the actual gameplay itself doesn't really care about any of these principles of animation. Using aerial attacks comes with these weird, sudden changes in position with no anticipation or real visual cues. You just sort of float in midair awkwardly, often flipping your horizontal and vertical momentum multiple times in 1 second, speeding up, slowing down, falling fast, gliding slow. It is dizzying. Rather than having an illusion of reality, it just feels like these characters are being randomly dragged around the screen by a mouse. And if you land while attacking, your character just hovers like the ground doesn't exist. Not to mention, your jumps themselves are so wacky. You rocket to your maximum jump height almost immediately. Then you suddenly stop, and then you slowly float down. Not only that, but if you tap down to fall faster, your character instantly snaps into an entirely different animation with no transition time, and this distracting visual effect appears on top of the weird thick outlines and the strange coloring and the super zoomed in camera. It's a lot. Though individually, any of these things could be fine, right? Like if we cared too much about making every single dash and jump look perfectly natural, then controlling your character would feel realistic, but also sluggish and unresponsive. So to avoid that, every fighting game has to sacrifice some animation clarity for gameplay. But again, it's all about choosing which rules to break and finding a balance of gameplay responsiveness and visual clarity. But Multiverses just it just doesn't care. Why is LeBron snapping between so many different poses so quickly? Why is his velocity just randomly changing all the time? Why is he hovering? And I can't stress enough how big of an impact this has on game feel. If you're used to games where a downwards stab looks like this, and then you see this, it's a very jarring downgrade. But of course, not every game has to be Smash or Brawlhalla. So just for comparison, let me show some examples of other platform fighters where I think the gameplay flows better with the animations than Multiverses. Just off the top of my head, you got Rivals of Aether, Garfield Game, Slap City, Framemakers, and even Rushdown Revolt. Also, Kirby Fighters 2, Shovel Knight Showdown, Icons, Combat Arena, Brawlout, Cartoon Network, Punch Time Explosion, Power Stone, Power Stone 2, Duck Game, SpongeBob Game, Smash Flash, Smash Crusade, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Smash Up, Full Metal Alchemist Dream Carnival, Knife Fight, which is a platform fighter where you fight as kitchen tools and utensils, Indie Pogo, Bounty Battle, Digimon, Rumble Arena, no relation, that's a different platform fighter, Jump Ultimate Stars, Flash Party, Spirit Fall, Super Smash Bros. Ball, which is a game on Scratch where you play as balls, Roblox Smash Bros. Again, Stick Figures, which isn't out yet, the Outfoxies from 1995, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, Shrek Super Slam, and of course, how could I forget, Jump and Bump for MS-DOS. Yeah, so I think those platform fighters do a better job with character movement than Multiverses right now. And listen, the reason I spent so much time on this gameplay animation idea is because this is something that sort of invisibly but very strongly pushes people away from a game. Just like with the input buffer situation, a casual player might not start listing the principles of animation, but they will know that something here just feels wrong and less satisfying than other fighting games they've played. Now as for me, I am slowly learning to look past the jank here. You can get somewhat adjusted to it, but I still think this is a serious fundamental flaw of Harley Quinn pay-to-win Smash Bros. Twin, and I was really hoping it would get addressed over the year-long period where the beta just wasn't available. Just like the glitches. There are a lot of them. But I don't want to waste your time with too many specifics that are hopefully already patched or will be soon by the time I post this video, so instead, I'm just going to put a clip on screen of me playing the campaign with a friend, and see if you can spot the glitch.
Oh my god.
You see the pluses just spawned?
Yes, the f***ing chickens?
What the f***? Like I said, a lot of glitches. In fact, there are countless bugs on Bugs Bunny alone. And I mean, I love glitches in games, right? And yet this game has me frustrated. So if the amount of bugs me, just imagine how much the amount of Bugs Bunny fans. Still though, at the very least, these glitches probably don't affect competitive gameplay too much, right? Yeah, so here's me doing an infinite combo with 2 buttons. More on that later. Well, we're getting pretty low on this iceberg, folks, but to be honest, none of these things is actually a complete deal breaker on its own. So, let's talk about something that is greedy microtransactions.
Looking for even more ways to personalize your character? Then you'll want to dive into the Multiverses Battle Pass.
I'm trying to think of a way to say this that is not emotionally charged, but this game is maybe a little bit catastrophically evil and manipulative. As in, every part of it feels like it was designed in a lab to manipulate you into spending money with seemingly no concern for actual gameplay experience. Now, don't kill me for this, but honestly, I don't have anything against microtransactions as a concept. In fact, on top of the usual skin and emote stuff you'd expect to see in any free-to-play game, I think it's a really smart idea to let people buy custom KO animations and Smash announcers. That, to me, is a great way to monetize a Smash-like game, because it's all cosmetic, it fits well into the gameplay without being distracting, and it keeps the game free. And yes, a lot of these ideas, like custom ringouts, are taken from Brawlhalla, which has been making money this way for years without imploding into a black hole of raw greed. But this game goes so much further. And I feel like if I point to any one monetization strategy here, like Battle Pass, or buy stuff with money, or buy characters with money, it might not sound that bad at first, because these are all things that can be fine in games that are less evil. But they're just not fine here. None of this is fine. I'll start by saying that to buy all the characters in this game is $200 at the very least. And currently, there's no premium version where you pay some money up front to get the whole cast. No, if you want to unlock everyone, you will pay the price of a 23-quart deep fryer and a whole turkey to cook in it. Not only that, but as I mentioned, the game removed the feature from the beta where you could try characters before buying them and play any character offline. And yes, they did add back the ability to try characters in training mode after fans started picking up the torches and pitchforks, but wait, still, unlike the beta, you have to buy characters to use them in local offline matches. This means that in order to host an in-person tournament for this game, you'd have to buy every single character on every single system you use, spending thousands of dollars. This is a design change that completely kills this game's offline community out of pure greed. But wait, you say, it's a free-to-play game. You can unlock characters simply by playing, just like in Brawlhalla. Yeah, so about that, some of you may have seen this tweet I made, where I did the math based on a play session and found it would take me 38 hours of PvP gameplay to unlock one character, and 77 hours to unlock the Joker. These are absolutely brutal numbers, like straight up EA level greedy. Yet sadly, some people still defend these business practices, which we gotta talk about. Cause yeah, that tweet ended up reaching a lot of people, a few million. We even got some articles written about it, and in my naive, idealistic dream fantasy world, I truly wish that some Warner Bros. Executive somewhere will see the public outcry and give these developers the freedom to make their game less evil. That's absolutely not gonna happen, but you know, let me dream. But I did at least think that we consumers would all be on the same page that a grind like this is incredibly bad. Yet while that was thankfully true for most of us, I did get a few worrying responses from people. So first off, I just want to say that I don't want MultiVersus to fail. You gotta understand that if I'm at a party and I notice a fire in the basement, when I say, hey everyone, you should probably check the basement, that's not me wanting to ruin your party, that's me trying to prevent a tragedy, which is exactly what will happen if we ignore the fire. Fans are not stupid, and when they see a game that just wants to take while giving very little in return, they understand it's not free to play, it's just free. Like how a dead rat on the sidewalk is free. You're welcome to pick it up, but don't expect other people to join in. But this is where things start to get kind of sinister and dishonest, because I think this game, in its current form, manipulates its players at best and outright lies to them at worst. So, starting with the manipulation, MultiVersus gives you initial challenges and rewards to start with that will allow you to earn about 2 fighters for free in the first couple of days. When I saw I was getting lots of currency, I bought Wonder Woman, because she was fun in the free rotation and seemed pretty broken. I figured, oh, if I get one character every few hours, I'll just get the one I'm enjoying right now, and then later on, I'll play all the other ones I'm interested in. Because that's how normal games work. But then, all of that just dries up completely, and you are left staring at that dozens of hours long grind we talked about with no alternative besides spending tons of money. But because you got that short initial boost, and the game looks generous for a couple of days, my 38-hour estimate seemed unbelievable to a lot of people who just hadn't hit that wall yet. And once you do hit that wall, it becomes so tempting to just spend a little bit of money to get that next character, get that battle pass, get Chest of Gleamium for $99.99. And that's what a lot of folks did. I saw a couple people say my numbers were wrong, but then go like, oops, I forgot I bought the premium package that gives me currency. Like, yes, that would explain the difference in our numbers. But hey, what's the point? Why am I even going free to play in the first place? Well, first off, money. But also, if a game says it's free to play, I'm the kind of guy who will take it up on that offer. I'll review that game free to play on a new account because that's how most people will play it. And for Multiverses, if you don't have a ton of stuff from the beta and you don't spend money to start with, this game is comically greedy in a way that it hides from players who do spend money. It tells you to do daily challenges you can't complete because you don't own that type of character. It tells you to claim challenges, but oops, that was a premium challenge. You need the battle pass to claim it. Oh, it's a premium mission. It was premium, so I can't... It's a premium mission! Yeah, why don't you go and claim the battle pass too, by buying the battle pass? Wow, the word claim really means something different here than what it says in the dictionary. Isn't that funny? And then this game tells you to progress in the PvE campaign for rewards. But oops, you don't have entire routes of the map because you don't own a certain premium skin you have to buy. I am not joking. I literally triple checked everywhere because I did not believe I was reading this right when I ran into it. You need premium paid skins to play certain routes of the game. Routes, mind you, which may prove very helpful as you try to get Agent Smith free in the event that tells you that you can get Agent Smith free. See, in that event, you need to defeat 20 unique bosses to earn Agent Smith for free. But hey, wait, it sure is hard to accomplish that without doing a whole lot of things that are very much not free. Funny how that works. Because, did I mention that if you want to get Agent Smith free, you'll need to play on harder difficulties, which you can't even start if your gem levels aren't high enough. And at this point, even if you don't know what gem levels are, you can probably guess that they want you to buy them with real money. In fact, if you try to play for free, you'll notice that you only get tiny fractions of gem levels at random in the form of gem EXP. And there is so much more to say here. I could point out that without owning any premium skins, you'll miss out on tons of gems and daily rewards. Or I could point out that gem levels are an average, so you need to grind an exponential curve for all your gems, and the only way to get gem levels for every gem at once is to simply buy this convenient gem level pack for each gem type for real money. Simply open your wallet. It's so easy. Or I could point out that they wanted you to pay to buy lives in the campaign before they were publicly shamed into removing that feature. But what I want you to see is that beyond all the silly terms and weird game mechanics like Gem EXP and Rift Star meters, what is going on here is actually very simple, which is that you will not get Agent Smith free. Instead, you will play this game like a full-time job for an RNG chance of getting to the starting line of getting Agent Smith free. And then you get to grind even more to raise your gem attack to the point where the enemies are beatable, all while the game begs you to spend money and make it easier at every single turn. But hey, what's a couple hundred hours more grinding, right? This is the game with Bugs Bunny! Don't you like Bugs Bunny? Give Bugs Bunny your entire paycheck right now. But seriously, the more I learn about these mechanics, the more I feel like I'm going insane. And it doesn't help that a bunch of random difficulties are disabled, seemingly to make the grind even more punishing for this event where you need to clear more difficulties. Because God forbid you could actually get Agent Smith free in this event that explicitly tells you that you can do that. And the worst part to me is that the grind is just so intentionally misleading. It's set up perfectly, obfuscating the amount of EXP you need, so that once an unsuspecting player gets deep into this gem level hell and realizes just how disgusting this exponential grind is, there are probably so many hours into getting the free thing that it'd be so easy to just spend a little bit of money to get those gem levels up so you don't miss out on the free thing. Every step of this process is meant to hide how evil the math is here. But when you actually get in the game and take a look around, Words don't mean anything in this game. They just sort of say shit and expect us to not question it. Speaking of which, you really need to see this truly amazing tweet from the actual Multiversus Twitter account. We'd also like to let you know that the option to purchase extra lives is a bug that has been addressed and is not an intended feature in the game. Response: how do you accidentally write code for a button that asks you to buy lives? And to that I say, wow, great question, Twitter user, but to me, that sounds like a job for the Scooby-Doo gang, the mystery of the spooky ghost that programs microtransactions when nobody is looking. Truly, this tweet deserves a spot in the gaming industry public relations Hall of Fame. I think it's just incredible. An incredible thing for a game to tweet. It's so insane that it feels like satire of itself, but it's just real. And that feeling really does apply to the entire experience of interacting with this game. Now, I know those are some harsh words, but again, I can't stress enough that I do not want this game to fail, probably. I just want it to be better and less evil. In truth, I'm a real Warner bro, and to prove that, here's what I'll do. For every single new subscriber on this video, I will invest a nickel into Warner Bros. Discovery stock in what economists are calling the worst investment decision of my life so far. I'll post proof on Twitter, so slap that subscribe button and make this video lose me money. Thank you. And now, back to the iceberg. Well, actually, hold on, because I'm realizing that we can't really go too much lower on the iceberg than we just did with all that evil microtransaction stuff. Because yeah, that was pretty bad. So let's add 2 more things near the bottom, above the microtransactions, and then we'll finish with the super secret worst thing at the bottom that sort of ties the bow on this wonderful present that Warner Bros. Has given us. So, balance. Competitive game balance is very opinion-based, and there's no one right way to do it. And while 1v1 play here has some questionable decisions that I don't agree with, again, I think the game should mostly be judged in the context of 2v2s, where it does feel better. But there's one truly baffling thing we need to talk about that, yeah, we just need to talk about it. See, this fighter, the Iron Giant, was actually just the most broken character I have ever seen in the entire platform fighter genre. And like, that is not an exaggeration or a joke. I say that even as someone who used to lose actual money to Smash 4 Bayonetta. I've seen the Bayonettas and the Brawl Meta Knights, and more than that, I've even seen the unspeakably OP horror of Little Red Riding Hood in Shrek Super Slam, who was way better than any Smash character could ever dream to be. This is important, you have to hear this. If your friend ever pulls out Shrek Super Slam, do not let them pick Little Red Riding Hood. That character is banned. And yet, the Iron Giant in Multiversus was so incredibly overpowered that he could even strike fear into the heart of a Shrek Super Slammer like myself. Because I cannot stress enough that the Iron Giant just turned this game into not a game. As in, if you hit him and he pressed B, he canceled the knockback and hit you for free because you hit him. And often that would kill you instantly. And again, I know that sounds like a joke or exaggeration, because how could it not be, right? Like, it sounds so stupid that if you weren't there, I don't even know how to convince you of the fact that he literally did that. He killed you instantly because you hit him, and that passed the playtesting phase. And playing as the Iron Giant was possibly the single most wild experience I have ever had in a competitive game. On top of the ability to use attacks while being comboed to kill them because I got hit, I had access to multiple, easy, infinite combos that killed my opponents for free. Now, you might think the Iron Giant would lose to projectiles, being giant, but luckily I equipped a perk that made me completely immune to them while moving, which is a thing you can do in this game. How did they fix this problem, you ask? Well, it's quite simple. You see, after he destroyed online play and got banned from a ton of tournaments, they removed him from the game. Across all modes. Even single player. Yes, for over a week, the Iron Giant was simply not in the cast of the game. By the way, I spent the second half of my free initial currency boost on the Iron Giant because he was so broken. And when I logged in several hours later, I found that the character was completely gone, but my currency was still 0. So, not counting the free rotation, let's chart the history of how many fighters I own in this game, including the starting character Shaggy and the generous free Multiversus launch gift of Banana Guard.
Banana Guard, you can just give up if you want, no one will judge you.
So, first I started at 2 characters. Then, with that initial account boost, I was able to hit 3 with Wonder Woman, and finally 4 with the Iron Giant. Truly, I was living large. But then, of course, he got removed, so I went back to 3 with no currency. And for many, many more hours, I had to watch the rich people play Multiversus while I was playing Triversus. However, finally, at long last, a miracle happened. They added the Iron Giant back, returning me to 4 total characters. Now, I can't wait to strike it rich and get character number 5. Though unfortunately, it hasn't quite happened yet. Because, you see, that 38-hour estimate I did was in 2v2s, where you get more currency. So, if you play any 1v1s, it's gonna slow you down and take a lot longer than a mere 38 hours. And yes, at this rate, I am actually going to become the Joker before I ever get to unlock him. In fact, my current free-to-play Joker unlock estimate is around 100 to 150 hours if you spread your time between all the modes, given I've been working at it for about 50 hours, and I'm almost halfway there. By the way, for the record, I also played the PvE Rifts mode for that time. Some people were telling me, hey, the grind isn't so bad because you unlock characters faster through PvE. Just play PvE with friends. So I dragged my friend into hours of this madness, and we still earned almost nothing past the initial boost from starting challenges. Well, to be clear, we did get Gem EXP. I should clarify, I did get a bit of Gem EXP, just a bit more of that, and I might even climb a gem level and get my gem attack up. I love modern gaming so much. But yeah, back to the Iron Giant for a sec, just because, yes, I have great news for you. He's back. He can still kill people in one hit. He can still break combos after you hit him, but it's a little bit harder now, so he's probably fine, maybe. But I do have some questions about how this happened in the first place. You know, it's kind of like if your friend offers you some cake, but when you cut into it, there's a bomb inside. And he's like, oops, my bad, I forgot to take out the bomb. Now, I don't think you have to stop being friends here, but you should maybe wonder how that got there in the first place. And also, maybe you should be a little bit suspicious of their baking in the future. Well, in Multiversus, I'll just say that a lot of these fighters are like good cakes, but if you check the ingredients, there are a couple things that maybe humans shouldn't eat if they want to live a long time. The competitive balance here is very much insane, which is funny for sure, but I really do think it's going to make a lot of people quit on the casual side. And on the competitive side, competing in this game for money is a fate I simply would not wish on my worst enemy. Oh, speaking of my worst enemy, there is something else we need to talk about that will require me to be a little bit of a hater. It's not something I want to do, but it's the elephant in the room here, and my hand has been forced. Because, what the hell is this thing? Guys, seriously, what is this creature? And why does he think he's on the team? So, if you didn't know, this character, Rain Dog, is not from some other IP. He's just a dog thing Multiversus made up themselves and put actual resources into as a playable character they expect you to pay $10 for, which is the same cost as Superman and Bugs Bunny. Well, before anything else, let me just say that I do feel kinda bad, because you just know it was someone's childhood dream to put their original character, Rain Dog, in a big game. And, you know, his design is fun. He's just a silly little guy. In the right context, maybe Rain Dog would fill audiences with a sense of magical wonder and whimsy, like Ori from Ori, or Animal Well Blob from Animal Well. But this is not the right context. And Multiversus, I do not like your Magic Dog OC. I do not like that he is in my Bugs Bunny the Joker LeBron James game. I do not care how awesome and important he is and how Batman loves him and won't stop talking about him because he's so special. Please, at least make him a free character. Have some shame. It's like if you made an adaptation of the Bible and you marketed it to Christians, but then in every scene you put some guy named Scrungus in front of Jesus. Like, your OC Scrungus might even be a great character with a fun design. But you know the audience you're aiming for isn't there for Scrungus, right? You should know that. And in Multiverses, I just want to know, why does Rick from Rick and Morty have an entire special move, the purpose of which is to turn my character into Rain Dog, so I have to play as Rain Dog? Why does online matchmaking force you to play on a stage that also turns you into Rain Dog? I had an actual PvP game where we had to stop for like 10 seconds because the game turned us both into its OC, Rain Dog. And yes, I know, we're joking around, we're having fun, it's not really that serious, right? But I bring up Rain Dog because to me, he represents the absolute biggest sin Multiverses commits, which is not understanding its audience at all, or even any individual part of its audience. That's the bottom of the iceberg, by the way. When you look at the actual gameplay, the stuff that's meant to keep people coming back long term, beyond the really good art and audio, this game simply does not understand why people play games. And to show you what I mean, and try to be as thorough as possible here, let's start by drawing a little 2x2 grid. On the top, we'll divide it by casual and tryhard, while on the side, we'll put PvP and PvE. What we're about to do here is imagine the 4 types of experience a player might want from this game. So first off, we have casual PvP. A player looking for this experience is not trying to play in hyper-competitive rules and win sweaty tournaments, but they do like the excitement and unpredictability of playing against other humans. And ideally, to cater to this audience, you want a game that has lots of variety, lots of chaos, while also making the basic controls feel satisfying and fun. Nailing that formula is what makes games like Fortnite or Wii Sports or Fortnite Wii Sports have such massive appeal and staying power. Well, speaking of popular Wii games geared towards casual PvP, there's a certain highly successful game series I mentioned a bit earlier in this video that Multiverses seems to be trying to imitate a whole lot. A series that you might call an ultimate smash hit. That's right, it's time to talk about Call of Duty. See, the reason Call of Duty games are so popular is because they know how to make an unpredictable experience that feels satisfying to just hop into and play. And love it or hate it, something the Call of Duty series has been refining since the original Modern Warfare in 2007 is a progression system that hijacks the hell out of the deeply flawed reward centers of the human brain. Ooh, cool, I ranked up, things are shining and glowing, I'm earning new stuff all the time, streaks, weapons, camos, perks, banners. There are fun challenges to shoot for. You're always unlocking new shit non-stop. You can really feel the neuron activation, the happy chemicals being released. And I bring all this up in a review for a Bugs Bunny vs. Steven Universe game from a completely different genre, because it really feels like Warner Bros. Looked at Call of Duty and Fortnite and every popular title with a battle pass and was like, we can do that, and proceeded to completely miss the entire point of what is fun about those games. But wait, how about skins and other cosmetics? There are lots of very high quality ones, and oh no, they are basically entirely paid. You have to buy everything. I mean, I have played this game for how many hours, and I have not seen a single skin or cosmetic for any of the characters I play. I got nothing. Well, to be fair, I did get this one event skin for Superman, and I can't wait to use it after I buy Superman. But yeah, what about challenges and fun rewards? Well, the only emotion I have ever felt towards a challenge in this game is anger, when it baits me yet again with a premium challenge I can't actually claim, or a normal challenge I can't complete without paying. It is wild, more so than literally any other game I've ever played, even greedy mobile games and MMOs. It's like Multiverses completely forgot that progression systems are actually supposed to be fun and rewarding on some level, and not purely 100% a tool for extracting more money from people. Because successful greedy games at least put in the effort to flash a bunch of pretty colors and freebies in front of your face while they pick your pocket. Multiverses can't even be bothered to do that much, and it's just sad. Like, this game isn't even good enough at being evil for me to kind of respect the hustle. Now, of course, in terms of pure gameplay, it's not all hopeless here, right? As we talked about, Multiverses does create a satisfying feeling of chaos in 2v2s. That core PvP experience is there. And it's also full of great IPs with great characters whose art, voice lines, and animations do give them a lot of appeal. But here's the thing. This isn't like a battle royale where you pick up new weapons all over the place, or a big team game with tons of players and moving parts. Super Le Smash Bron James to Versus is much more limited in terms of replay value, and doubly so if you're not willing to let Rain Dog set your wallet on fire. Well, that might be good enough while the new game shine is here. And yes, the unique gameplay will make sure some people stick around. But I think long term, this current strategy simply can't hold the attention of the massive casual PvP audience who decides the fate of a free-to-play game like this. But what about the small but dedicated audience of sweaty tryhard PvPers? This group wants a skill-based experience that respects the time they put into it and rewards their tryhard power level. They want competitive modes, rankings, ways to practice, smooth online play, and above all, they want a deep game that doesn't shatter into a million pieces once people start actually getting good at it. So, as you may have guessed by now, but let's move on to another critical part of the tryhard PvP experience, which is the netcode, right? The connection quality of the online experience. Well, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, no, this keeps happening where games that are not Smash Bros. Make me very sad that we can't have better online play in Smash Bros. Because here's me fighting someone across an entire ocean, and it feels totally fine, which is unthinkable in Smash, and a big point in this game's favor. So, in my experience, Multiverses does have genuinely awesome rollback netcode when it works. I mean, it does like to disconnect a lot. But, to be fair, my friends and I do spend every match spamming the most horrifying glitches known to man. So, we probably just made the Multiverses netcode like pass out from fear. It basically signed up to work security, but we turned that shit into Five Nights at Freddy's. Our fault. So overall, maybe it's not perfect, but the online play here is actually a big plus for tryhard PvPers. And it's true, great netcode can straight up double the competitive value of a fighting game. But in order to double something, it kind of has to be there in the first place. And this gameplay is just so awkward and mashy right now, with so many baffling design decisions that, if nothing else, serve as great case studies on why other fighting games don't do these things. Imagine if you looked at chess and you were like, man, chess would be so much more awesome if it didn't have all those stupid pawns in the way, so you take away all the pawns to make super chess. Well, that game might be fun for a little bit, but the moment that novelty wears off, you'll be like, oh, so that's why chess has pawns. And that's how I feel whenever I play this game. I'm like, oh, that's why fighting games have blocking. That's why most games don't let you hang on a wall for 10 minutes straight. That's why team attack exists in every other platform fighter. Now, of course, I am not the genre enforcer. I love seeing games bend the formula to make something experimental. But all of this together is just... Once you learn how these mechanics work and start putting them together on a deeper level, this game crumbles under the pressure harder than any modern competitive game that I have ever played. Now, I'm sure some people will claim that my complaints are all skill issue, I'm just not good enough to play the real Batman Bros meta. But checkmate, haters, with skill-based matchmaking, I have an 85% win rate in Bugs Bunny game. And saying that is 85% a cry for help. Every match erodes my sanity further as I fight player after player who has spent the GDP of a small country on premium skins, and the only thing that keeps me going is a sense of profound, divine obligation to give these people a reality check with my ugly-ass default profile. But of course, that's just quick play, right? The people actually winning competitive tournaments are a whole different level entirely. And yes, the last thing I want to do is speak from ignorance and give you some biased opinion. So I joined a competitive practice community to talk about this stuff with high and top level players. I figured I should get the other side of the story and see how the best and most devoted PvPers would critique my conclusions here. But I quickly realized there was one small problem with my plan. You see, it turns out they all hate this game more than I do. Yeah, turns out Multiversus is sort of like radiation. It's really cool when you first discover it, but the people who are exposed to it the most quickly experience the worst it has to offer. For example, one player told me that his game disconnected in an offline tournament match, because Multiversus is always online, and it will kick you out of local offline play if the connection drops for a second. Balance-wise, whenever I asked how to deal with a move or mechanic that felt very strong, people were just like, yeah, that has no counterplay. That is rock with no paper. Give up. People would ask for games, saying stuff like, by the way, I promise not to do the combo that kills you instantly, because they're probably going to take that out, hopefully. It was wild. I mean, I expected to start an argument when I dropped my most provocative take, which is that this game feels like it was balanced by people who simply don't understand fighting games. But then, everyone just sort of agreed and started listing examples. And absolutely every competitive player I spoke with shared the opinion that this is a fun game with a lot of potential, and also a lot of very, very bad problems that need attention fast.
I think the game in general is pretty fun. I think, mainly casuals enjoy the game a lot.
This is Leviathan, one of the best Multiversus players in the entire world. His long list of achievements includes placing third at EVO, winning thousands of dollars, and doing Morty combos that make me want to call an exorcist. And in terms of Bugs Bunny game, Leviathan was hopeful about the future, but he had some harsh words about the way things currently are.
Getting very competitive with the games, more blaring issues start showcasing. Those blaring issues are very, very overwhelming, especially if you really want to get deep into the game, such as just how the game handles with input buffer, multiple different bugs that are very common in play, and generally just how the game starts to become very stale and repetitive.
Yeah, the more you play this game and learn how it works, the more those glaring flaws really start to stand out, right up to the absolute highest levels of competition. And I'm just saying, if you're a fighting game developer, and your best players are saying stuff like that, maybe you should be a little bit worried, and listen to them. That said, it's not all bad news, because remember, in Multiversus, 2v2s are just better.
Being a 2v2 game in general it's kind of a cheat code, because having fun with friends is 8 times easier in this game than it is with, whenever you're always 1v1ing your friend.
As we talked about, doubles is where these insane creative team mechanics really come to life, and I think, at least for a while, that mode is absolutely worth your time if you're a fan of try-hard PvP. Especially if you plan things out with a friend and create your own unique eldritch abomination of a playstyle. Of course, this mode is still mashy, brainless, and terrifying without friendly fire, but that's part of the fun. By the way, the 2v2 channel of that Discord server was very active, so I got permission to link it in the description for those of you of all skill levels who want to fight and learn from your fellow shit game connoisseurs. And I do mean connoisseurs. These are people who can just shake their heads and laugh whenever some unforgivable, horrifying BS happens on screen, because they hate and love this game, and they knew what they were signing up for. As it stands, that's clearly what it takes to be a champion in Super Smash Bros. But with Bugs Bunny and he wants your money. So I do think this game, in its current form, has some appeal for the most devoted competitive fans. But can it last? I don't know. Because remember, you can't even host offline tournaments anymore without spending hundreds or thousands of dollars. Since again, they've removed the ability to use all fighters in local matches, and it costs $200 to unlock every character on a fresh account. Let's compare that to the main free-to-play competition here, Brawlhalla, which lets you buy every current and future fighter for $40. Plus, pretty much every month it goes on sale for $20. So the cost of completing my Multiversus cast is 1,000% of its main competitors. 10 times the price. Can someone good at business please tell me if this is a good strategy? So, for PvP, whether you're casual, try-hard, whatever, it just feels like we are all witnessing a massive act of self-sabotage from this game. And without some major changes, I don't think it can hold people's attention. But wait, that's only half the game, right? Next, let's talk about PvE, the Rifts campaign. Though, actually, this should be quicker because that mode is just so incredibly not good. Now, for any game, I consider myself a casual PvE fan whenever I just like to hop in, mess around, and see the content without optimizing builds or doing crazy endgame stuff. In terms of platform fighters, one great idea to succeed here is having an actual fun campaign, who would have thought, where you sprinkle in varied gameplay, bosses, and different ways to fight the AI. Last year, we saw Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 actually try something very cool and different with its roguelike campaign, which felt like a streamlined take on Smash Ultimate's World of Light mode that preserved all the fun parts. Sure, it was buggy and rough around the edges, but you could tell there was a lot of passion put into it, and it was good fun, with some cool bosses that really worked as a crossover. So, when Multiversus announced its new Rifts mode, with an extremely well-produced trailer as usual, I was excited, since it looked like they were doing the same thing, but with a bigger scope. Mutators and gems that change gameplay, multiple campaigns full of wacky crossover encounters. Surely that Multiversus budget could bring about something truly special. So, the problem with me and gaming is that I hope for things, you know, I get my hopes up. I should just not do that. It's worth pointing out that they did specifically have a whole audience of PvE preferring players in mind, as a group of people who would enjoy and presumably spend money on this new mode. Check out this one screenshot from the trailer. Rifts is explicitly marketed as PvE, a new way to play, outside of competitive PvP. Fun for all skill sets. Which is a bold claim, considering that there is exactly one skill set this mode is fun for, or maybe zero. It depends on whether you count doing the same thing over and over again without getting bored as a skill set. Cause even if you had unlimited money, the game here is pretty much just a downgraded version of that campaign from Garfield Smash Bros. In that Garfield game campaign, like in World of Light, you unlocked everyone one by one as you saved them from evil. In Multiversus, you beat someone, and then you can't use them because you don't own them. And then you get denied progression because you didn't buy the Friday the 13th skin for the Joker. Everything about this mode is awful. From the lack of content to the writing of these illogical non-stories that feel almost AI generated, to the weird difficulty systems, gem levels, and infuriating decision to make gems useless when their attunement doesn't match the whatever. This mode is just soulless, and it all really just funnels back to the fact that they actually expect you to spend actual money on this, which, wow, that is delusional. It's like if Google Chrome added microtransactions to the dinosaur minigame. Oh, and speaking of minigames, board the platforms, break the targets, race to the finish. These famous Smash Bros. Bonus stages all involve controlling your character. That's why they're fun. So I just have a couple questions for whoever designed Tank Minigame, where instead of playing the game, you are inside of a tank that can only move left and right and press A to fire, and it's the same for every character. And you have to do that multiple times for multiple minutes each time to progress in the PvE mode. Now, I want to say more here, but anything I could tell you would be a far worse argument than what your eyes are telling you right now. Oh, okay, we're golden.
Yeah. There's no way. Oh.
There's a boss, I gotta fight the boss.
Oh my god. This is very bad.
But finally, we have Tryhard PvE. This is for the optimizers, the min-maxers, the speedrunners, people who want to learn everything and master a game on the highest difficulty. Does Multiversus appeal to this audience? Probably not, but, well, I'm not entirely sure, since personally, I can't even start on those higher difficulties, because again, my gem levels aren't high enough, and I'm just not gonna pay money to raise them. I'm not going to do that. because the idea is repulsive to me on a physical level. So we'll call tryhard PvE a maybe, because maybe tank minigame gets super duper awesome later on, and I was simply too poor in gem levels to see. But let's be real, the PvE here feels like it was designed by people who just don't get why people play PvE. If the story and the gameplay and the user experience and the sense of progression and even the crossover itself is all completely neglected, what will anyone actually pay for once they realize that fact? Maybe Warner Bros. Thinks people will just give them money for free out of pity. Since, their stock did drop 70% in 2 years, you gotta feel a little bit bad for them. But sorry, if you want people to actually spend meaningful time and money on a PvE mode, it cannot be an afterthought. So, overall audience roundup. Who is going to be happy to stick with this live service game and play it for months or even years to come? Given its current state, I would argue almost no one. And I'm clearly not alone in feeling that way. If things continue as they are, let me tell you, the future is not looking good. Maybe this game will stumble on for years as a zombie, maybe it will shut down in 2026 after failing to be profitable, or maybe it will stubbornly cling to life, subsisting purely off of large whales on the ocean floor. Fitting, since we have now reached the very bottom of our terrifyingly large iceberg. We're all sitting here far below the ocean surface, and we're looking up at that iceberg from our cozy Warner Bros. Owned submarine. Like maybe it's the one from the 2018 Aquaman movie where Aquaman beats up all those dudes on the submarine. But yeah, having witnessed all this game has to offer, it is finally time to surface and give a final score to Steven Universe's live service multiverse versus that empties your purses. And I rate this game a 5 out of 10 because it sucks right now. Which might sound harsh, but remember, there is nothing wrong with enjoying a game that is not good, as long as there's something in that mess that you find fun. And in fact, for me, that fun factor was 2v2s, playing with a friend, alongside the art and the voices and the sound. That experience alone would be a 6 or 7 out of 10, but this game is obsessed with stopping you from having fun, and making your experience worse on purpose to bore you into spending money. And very quickly, the only emotions you feel about this game become frustration and disappointment and hatred of this dog. Like, why is he here? You have legal permission to use Scooby-Doo. Why did you spend so much time making a different dog? That one's cool though. Of course, it's free to play, so give it a shot. Hop online with a friend, pop into that team battle mode, get your favorite character with the initial currency, and you will have a lot of fun at first. At its best, you really do see this game's potential, and hope for more. But as it stands, what I hope and wish for does not change the disaster that has been taking place in front of my eyes in slow motion for the past month. And somehow, despite all that potential, despite a couple high points, Multiversus is a game where the whole is so much worse than the sum of its parts. So yeah, 5 out of 10. But wait, don't lose hope. See, to raise that score, I am giving this game a couple of my own Battle Pass challenges, which I'll keep track of in the pinned comment of this video. So, dear Multiversus, Challenge 1, fix your game. Patch out the countless horrible bugs, exploits, infinites, and balanced nightmares that plague this release, while patching in all the settings and features you removed in the beta. Challenge reward, +1 review score. Now, because the first couple patches did slap some duct tape over the worst balance mistakes of this game, and breaking news, we can change the input buffer now, I am awarding a third of this prize, bringing the score of Multiversus up to 5.3, repeating. Keep it up, team. I was going to raise this to 5.4 given a couple recent fixes, but unfortunately, the same patch literally removed Jason from the game because of a horribly broken bug. He's the second character to be deleted. I'm losing my mind. So I think 5.4 is a little bit too high right now. Let's stick with 5.3 repeating. Challenge 2. Now this one's actually a premium challenge, because you gotta pay money to complete it. Multiversus, you must find and hire several people with skill sets that will help this gameplay actually look like it follows the basic laws of physics. For example, why not have jump arcs make logical sense? And why not have separate animations that play when you land with an attack? So these characters don't just randomly float everywhere like Jesus walking on water behind Rain Dog. Also, please hire someone who understands how fighting games work, because again, I talked to a lot of your best players, and they really do seem to think this game was made by people who do not know how fighting games work. They just gotta hire somebody who
Plays the games.
plays the game.
I don't know. It's like they have a really big problem where there's good concepts or proof of concepts, but a lot of them are thought out to a degree. But then there's like an obvious loophole that they just forget. Oh wait, this move has a crazy property that makes it Thanos like third gauntlet, and now we have a problem where people are insta-dying.
So, because this is a premium challenge, this one would earn +2 review score, and I'll even throw in some YouTube Battle Pass EXP for my channel, and even a couple YouTube gem levels for good measure, because I'm feeling generous. That's gonna raise your gem attack a whole lot if you're subscribed. Don't miss this opportunity. Challenge 3, the final challenge. Stop being evil. Let people unlock characters without spending 38 hours or several times more to do it. And if you're gonna keep every fighter locked offline, at least sell an affordable bundle with every fighter, so unlocking everyone doesn't cost the same as 15 LeBron James Funko Pops. That way, in-person tournaments can actually exist. Also, stop locking roots of your campaign behind premium skins. What are you doing? And while we're at it, please, stop lying to your players. Don't do that. That's bad. I mean, can you please at least stop telling me I can claim stuff in huge letters when I literally have to buy it? Seriously, can you even do that? Because to me, it just sort of gives off the vibe of being like illegal under United States federal law according to Section 5A of the FTC Act. But you know, it's not that serious. It's not like I'm gonna report this game to the Federal Trade Commission at reportfraud.ftc.gov, link in description, even though, for the record, this is the exact type of thing the FTC explicitly says consumers like me should report, even if we're just unhappy about a business practice so that actual experts can get their eyes on it. But what do I know, right? All I did was read this 48-page FTC workshop summary from 2021, which directly condemns so-called dark patterns, or manipulative design elements, pretty much all of which are used shamelessly and deceptively in Bugs Bunny game. Like, to quote page 4, some dark patterns manipulate consumer choice by inducing false beliefs. For example, a company may make an outright false claim or employ design elements that create a misleading impression to spur a consumer into making a purchase they would not otherwise make. I mean, Multiversus does this sort of thing every step of the way, beyond all the claim and for free nonsense, beyond the lies on social media, and even beyond stuff I didn't have time to mention, like how a bunch of people from the beta are still missing cosmetics and all their useful currency was converted into useless currency to milk more money out of them. Yeah, beyond all that, this game is just clearly designed to be disgustingly manipulative at every single turn. Oh yeah, and one little thing I forgot to mention before, just one tiny little thing that might be relevant. This game has a glitch that is forcing people to buy skins, and support refuses to offer refunds.
That's illegal!
And it's pretty much exactly what the FTC just ordered Epic Games to pay $245 million for last year after they tried to pull that shit in Fortnite. Because that is very illegal. You cannot make consumers buy things they don't want to buy and then say no refunds. It doesn't matter if it's a bug, like laws exist. We have consumer protection laws to stop this exact thing from happening. Now, I'm not saying that everyone should report their experiences with Multiversus to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov, link in description, but who knows, right? Like you, the person watching this right now, maybe you played this game, and maybe you're feeling like you want to report some fraud today to the US government at reportfraud.ftc.gov, link in description. Okay, yeah, we got a bit sidetracked there, but yeah, back to the challenge. Multiversus, if you fix all of this that I just talked about, you can claim your challenge reward, plus 1.5 review score, and plus 10 YouTube Battle Pass EXP, and the best reward of all, not getting a scary letter from the Federal Trade Commission. So, those are my 3 challenges for Multiversus. And yes, everyone, I truly believe that if all those things were fixed by some miracle, this game could be incredible. For example, if the CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery sees the ghosts of gaming past, present, and future, and his heart grows 3 sizes, then, well, first off, he would stop destroying completed projects for tax write-offs, but second, he would finally save these developers from their prison inside the digital horse armor factory so that they could make this game stop being evil. Yeah, if all that were to suddenly and miraculously happen, Warner Bros. Could potentially make a 9 out of 10 experience, rise from the ashes of Batman and the Iron Giant's FTC non-compliant Wi-Fi reliant game client. Like, just imagine if they went full No Man's Sky and dug through mountains of garbage to find the functional core and built that into a complete whole. We would end up with a masterpiece. And I wish that would happen so bad because I truly see flashes of genius here. Multiversus has the IPs, it has the voices and art, it has the wacky team play, and more than that, it has so many passionate fans who enjoy it and care about its future, even though they know it's terrible. Imagine how happy they would be if it somehow became not terrible. Like, I brought up that whole FTC thing in that server full of this game's most dedicated players. You want to know the first response I got? It was, "Oh cool, I'm not the only one that's reported them then." Do you know how much someone has to love your game to still practice it after reporting you for violating federal consumer protection laws? That's the power Multiversus has. We all want to see this game succeed and stop being awful because we care. We're fans. We want to see more awesome characters. Like, get me Ben 10 in this. Get me Godzilla. I mean, Warner Bros. Discovery? You own Discovery Channel. Give me the Alaskan King Crab from Deadliest Catch. Give me Adam and Jamie from Mythbusters as one character like the Ice Climbers, but they're called the Beard Climbers. You know what? Screw it. Give me the guy who goes,
"Today on How It's Made."
And then the How It's Made intro comes in, and it goes like,
"Curved cabinet doors."
We are seeing all that potential go to waste, just to make a couple extra bucks in the short term. And it is heartbreaking. The passion of fans has gotta deserve more respect than being thrown into the microtransaction fruit juicer until it's a dry husk. But remember folks, this is modern gaming, and nobody can be happy. The players, the developers, all of us must suffer all the time in the name of glorious profits. So what are you waiting for? Grab a friend, grab some Bugs Bunny shaped ice cream, then get the hell out there and play some tank minigame. In conclusion, I recommend Multiversus if you hate yourself, have too much money and want to lose it, and also you like Batman, or hate yourself